The icy wind cut across the empty bus stop as the sky turned a pale gray, but the real chill came from the sight that unfolded next. A tiny, fragile girl with trembling legs, unable to stand properly, clutching a torn backpack while her mother's shadow disappeared into the distance. It happened so quickly that anyone watching would have wondered if they'd imagined it. But the child's soft whimper proved it was painfully real. No bus had arrived, no emergency had called the mother away. She simply looked back once, expression unreadable, and walked off, leaving her disabled daughter alone on a cold metal bench. The girl tried to call out, but her weak, shaking voice faded into the wind. At that moment, life changed, hers, and someone else's who had never expected destiny to intervene at a lonely bus stop. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of humanity, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Whispers of Kindness to help stories like this reach more hearts. The little girl's name was Alina, barely 7 years old, with thin arms, uneven steps, and eyes that carried both innocence and the weight of a world far too cruel for her small heart. She had been born with a condition that made walking painful and slow, one that required patience, therapy, and love, things her mother once had in abundance, but life, poverty, and bitterness had drained every drop. Today was the breaking point. She had told herself she would return for Alina, that this wasn't abandonment but a pause, a moment to breathe. But once she turned the corner and felt the weight lift, she didn't come back. Minutes stretched into an hour, and the girl sat shivering, her legs curled inward to ease the pain. People passed by, some glancing for a moment, others staring out of curiosity, but no one stopped. Her tears fell quietly, slipping down her cheeks like tiny confessions of fear. Across the street, a black luxury car had been parked for a while, its engine silent but its presence commanding. Inside sat a man in his mid-30s, sharply dressed yet exhausted, with dark circles beneath his eyes and a heaviness that suggested he carried more than corporate burdens. His name was Ayaan Malik, a CEO known for his leadership but not for companionship. Behind the success, his life was hollow, no family, no warmth, just an empty house and a calendar filled with meetings that meant nothing. He had come to this quiet part of the city to clear his mind, something he rarely admitted even to himself, but fate had drawn him to the bus stop for a reason he hadn't yet understood. As he watched the small figure on the bench, something stirred inside him, something he thought he had lost years ago when tragedy had left him emotionally numb. Her vulnerability echoed a memory he had locked away, a memory of a sister with the same gentle eyes who didn't survive her illness because life had been cruel to those without power. For the first time in years, his chest tightened in a way that wasn't just stress. He stepped out of the car, unsure of what he intended to do but unable to drive away. The girl didn't notice him at first. She was too busy wiping her tears with trembling hands, her breath forming small clouds in the cold air. Standing near her, Ayaan realized just how small she was. Her legs bent awkwardly, her shoes worn out, her backpack nearly empty except for a piece of bread wrapped in paper. The loneliness surrounding her felt heavier than the wind. He glanced around, expecting a frantic parent to rush back any moment, but the street remained silent. When he gently placed his coat around her shoulders, she flinched, not out of fear, but from pure surprise, as if kindness was something rare she wasn't sure she deserved. Her breathing steadied, and though she didn't speak, her eyes asked 1,000 questions he could feel but not answer. He took her to the nearest cafe, where warmth replaced the cold breeze that had gnawed at her bones. She ate slowly, politely, almost apologetically, as if afraid someone might snatch the plate away. Ayaan watched the way she held her fork with effort, the way her legs dangled but never rested comfortably, and something inside him broke. He knew too well what abandonment felt like. He knew what it meant to be left behind by the one person you trusted most. After hours passed and still no one came searching for her, he made a quiet decision, one that would alter both their paths forever. He took her to a hospital first, wanting to ensure she was safe. Doctors examined her gently, explaining her condition in medical terms he had heard before but had never imagined applying to someone he now felt responsible for. They said her disability was manageable with support, therapy, and proper care. Ayaan listened with growing resolve, realizing the world had not failed Alina, people had. And he refused to be one of them. Social services were contacted, but the thought of leaving her in a shelter made his stomach twist. As she sat beside him, her small hand brushing his sleeve, silently asking him not to leave her, he made a decision without needing words. Days turned into weeks, and Ayaan became the unexpected anchor in Alina's life. He arranged treatments for her, sat beside her through therapy sessions, and listened to her shy laughter slowly bubble back to life. She began trusting him in ways that softened the sharp edges of his lonely existence. His mansion, once silent, now echoed with giggles, small footsteps, and scattered toys. Even his employees noticed the change, a warmth in his voice, a lightness in his stride. For the first time, he felt purpose beyond business deals and boardrooms. But the story took a sharp turn months later when the mother resurfaced, not out of guilt, but because she had learned who had taken in her daughter. The name Ayaan Malik carried weight, influence, and wealth. She saw opportunity where she once saw burden. She demanded custody, threatening legal action and weaving stories of regret and hardship. But Alina's trembling hands clutched Ayaan's shirt tightly whenever the topic arose, her eyes pleading silently. She had finally found a safe home, and she feared losing it more than anything. Ayaan fought, not with anger, but with devotion. He presented evidence, medical reports, witness accounts, and most importantly, his unwavering commitment to the child who had unknowingly saved him from his own isolation. Court hearings dragged on, but every appearance strengthened the bond between them. Even the judge, hardened by years of difficult cases, saw the truth: the mother had abandoned her willingly, coldly, without remorse. And Ayaan had given her not only care but life itself. When the final verdict declared that Alina would remain in Ayaan's custody permanently, the courtroom fell silent except for the soft, relieved sobs of a little girl who finally understood what love truly felt like. She wrapped her arms around him as best as her small frame allowed, and for the first time in years, Ayaan felt whole. He realized that family wasn't defined by blood, it was defined by choice, by sacrifice, and by love shown in the coldest moments. Their lives blossomed from that point onward. Ayaan ensured she received the best medical care, physical therapy, and education. Her walking improved, her confidence soared, and her laughter became the soundtrack of his once silent home. She filled the gaps in his life he never knew existed, and he filled the emptiness in hers with warmth she thought the world had forgotten. Together, they built something beautiful, two souls abandoned by life but saved by fate. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to Whispers of Kindness. Your support helps us continue sharing emotional and inspiring stories with the world. Special request: before this story ends, please comment one word that describes how you feel right now.